Hello, Matt. You're up next.
Hey Bart, what's
How's
up?
how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. What do you where's this hand played out of?
So this hand is played out of Dayton, Ohio at Poker Hub at the same place. I was just on the show 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
In fact,
I was
yeah.
saying like, oh, I couldn't remember the name. I couldn't remember where Poker on Air was, and I think it was Akron, right?
Yep.
Yep, I remember now. Okay. And so this is a 2-5 game or what?
Yes. So we're 2.5, 1.7K effective.
1.7K effective. Is it a home game, you said, or just sort of a private club?
No, it's just like any other card club like they have in Texas.
Texas? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't actually do time rake. It's a $30 all day pass.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
which is actually a pretty good deal. So,
Yeah. All right. So 2-5, 1700 effective. Okay.
okay. So, Hero is under the gun with Ace of Hearts, King of Spades,
Ace of Hearts, King of Spades under the gun. Okay.
and I open to 20.
Okay. Standard open size, I would say, to 4x ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then we get three callers, and then the big blind, which is actually the same guy that I played against the Jack hand. It's my good friend. So
Oh, okay. I do remember that with, yeah, there's some sort of war going on. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So he goes to 140.
All right. So three field callers. I'll just say like three field callers. So you raise to 20 as the hero with ace king off. Three field callers. Big blind, three bets to 140. I mean, this seems to be a slam dunk four bet spot here, especially against you guys who battle, right? You've got dead callers in there. Now, when am I calling ace king off? If I opened from under the gun and it got folded to the big blind and the big blind three bet, that's a call for me a lot with ace king off. But here it's a slam dunk four bet with these dead callers in between.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So yeah, I end up four betting to 340.
Okay, so to 340. Now you guys are deep enough where it's like you're not, you're going like a little bit two and a half. What is it? Slightly under two and a half.
Slightly under 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, slightly under two and a half. Let me ask you this question. Well, it kind of puts the onus back on him because, talk about the preflop threshold here. Preflop threshold meaning like you don't really want to break the threshold of raising to an amount where you're always going to call off anyways, because what's the point, right? Your opponent's is going to know that there's no fold equity if they jam, so you're supposed to just jam instead. You've got a ton of stack depth here, but he can't really like five bet here to break the threshold. And I guess my question to you is that are you just four bet calling off here? It sounds to me like with this dynamic, like if he's your buddy and you guys go to war. I mean, I know it's deep, but
I think I would probably call off to a five bet.
All right, so here
if it came down to it.
So here are four bets to 340. I assume the riffraff fold out.
Yes, everybody folds to him, and then he ends up calling.
All right, riffraff folds. Big blind calls, and also he's getting a pretty good price here too. I mean, probably it's like 5 and change, 200 to call. Okay, so big blind calls.
Yeah, but I would think he would be defending relatively tight since I opened under the gun and then four bet. But with the stack depth, he could possibly find a bit more few hands to call with, just because of how deep we are. But so
okay, so now we're at what, like 730, 720, something like that.
740 is what
740. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so the flop is
two SPRs, by the way, two bot size bets left. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the flop comes out Queen of Hearts, Five of Hearts, and then Deuce of Diamonds.
And again, I am running a contest where I'm giving away two free 5% pieces of my action. On the Thirsty Thursday game next week on September 14th, I'm going out to LA to play on that game and then commentating on the 15th. All you have to do is click on the link in the description. Good luck to everyone that enters, and we will announce the winners the day before on Wednesday, probably in the community post area of our YouTube. Deuce of diamonds. Okay.
So he checks, and then I end up checking back. And I wanted to ask your opinion on that because I guess 4-bet pots aren't all of that common. So what would you think the best strategy to take in 4-bet pots are? Should we be like always betting small, or mix between checking and betting large, or
sure?
What?
So you are almost always, my understanding in 4-bet pots, and I remember going over this in our sort of optimal podcast that we did for 4 or 5 years when I co-hosted a little bit, where we got Conlon Ma, and then we had Brian A, and we had Ping Lu. Ping Lu, by the way, did really well in the main event at the World Series. 4-bet pots, unless it's the sort of most connected of connected boards, like it came out like 9-10 Jack, like monotone, are almost always supposed to be C-bet. Are almost always supposed to be C-bet for sort of like a range type of sizing. And I think one of the reasons why that is because your opponent is supposed to have some raises in 3-bet pots to small sizing, even though a lot of live players don't find the raises, which is why you can actually probably C-bet a 3-bet pot with a much higher frequency than you're supposed to, because your opponents just allow you to realize because they don't find the raises. But in 4-bet pots, even, whatever you want to call it, at equilibrium, there's so less raising going on, you're even allowed to realize then too. Plus here you've got good characteristics with the ace of hearts, but obviously a live 4-bet pot really is not all that common. But sort of the mantra that I go with is I almost always C-bet a 4-bet pot unless it is just the absolute wettest of boards. And you've got a board here that really, the only thing that really he could have here that interacts is, queen.
Queen, yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't know what the
plus you got backdoor wheel draw here too, right?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I actually did not know the suits of my cards until the turn.
You didn't look at the suits of your cards?
I did, but I didn't remember them.
Look back at your hand, dude.
Yeah, so I ended up doing that on the turn.
One street too late. So you're saying that if you realized you had the ace of hearts, you might have bet, or what?
I think I don't know. I was going to ask you that too, if that would play any factor in that. But you said that we should always be C-betting boards on 4-bet pots. So
I mean, pretty much. But I mean, it's good for you in terms of structuring too. I would rather have the ace of hearts than not have the ace of hearts. But okay, so it goes check. Queen of hearts, 5 of hearts, deuce diamonds. Here has ace king with the ace of hearts. Okay, what's the turn?
Okay, the turn is the 8 of hearts.
Because here, with the turn being the 8 of hearts, like if you went really, really small, you can put him, like, depending on the stack to pot ratio, like in a world of hurt here, a lot of times here on the turn too, with ace king, with the ace of hearts. Once in a while, you can kind of play a little bit of a tricky line and play, usually I would say it's bet off on the turn. If you were to take a small bet and he called, and now the turn's the 8 of hearts, it's probably bet off at a very, very high frequency. But I feel like you can sometimes even take a line of actually sometimes checking with your equity to bluff the river if you don't get the heart, because that's such a value line. So if you take a step back, and let's say that you had like aces, kings, something like that, and your opponent had, or let's say your opponent had jacks or tens here, even sometimes like a hand like queen jack or something like that, and that unblocks like aces and kings. And let's say you bet the flop he called, the turn was a heart, it went check, and the river was a brick, and he checked again with like queen jack, and then you bet. That is so rarely a bluff in a 4-bet pot when your guys are sort of somewhat expecting you to check back turn on a flushing card, maybe even when you're not supposed to do it. Obviously that didn't happen because you didn't bet small, but I'm just saying like as an alternative line. Okay, so turns the 8 of hearts. What does he do now?
So he bets 225.
So super small.
Yes.
And this would suck like if he had a hand that he thinks he's betting for protection that would have just folded out on the flop, although there's probably not many of those that are going to necessarily fold out. So big blind 225. And I assume you call?
Yeah, I end up calling. Do you think there's any merit to raising here at all, or is this just a standard call, you think?
I don't know, man. I think it's just so weird because you're supposed to bet off so much here on the flop,
On
and
the flop,
you're
yeah.
gonna be nut betting off nut flush draws here in 4-bet pots. That it would be kind of strange to raise because you should so seldom really have a hand that would warrant a raise here in the form of I mean, even if you were slow playing queen queen, you wouldn't raise the turn now, right?
Maybe with how small he bet, I think you could maybe argue a raise on the turn, just like a 3x raise, and then jam on any clean river.
What to get
Just so
to
he
get
has-
value from an offsuit ace of hearts, which should like ace king with the ace of
or
hearts,
even like aces or kings that didn't 5-bet.
maybe.
But I don't know.
Maybe. So, all right. So 450. So now we're at what, like 1190 ish, something like that.
1190, yeah.
And then you guys have quite a bit in your stack, right? Like 11,
Yeah.
1200, about a pot size bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Around there.
Yeah.
All right. So going to the river is it is the ace of diamonds.
Okay. So you make top pair.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And then a villain tanks for about 10 seconds or so, and then rips it.
For how much?
1165.
Well, I mean, against typical opponents at 2-5, I'm going to be overfolding this spot quite a bit because it really kind of seems like your hand might be a fair amount of ace king or something with showdown value, right? The check back. Because it's like, what are you calling? What are you 4-betting checking back the flop with and then calling the turn? It's going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, maybe it could be like jacks or tens, I guess, like once in a while, something like that.
Jacks or tens with a heart, maybe.
Right. But, if you guys battle in the, and you're trying to play like at sort of somewhat equilibrium, you're trying to find like hands that you're supposed to call down with, I would imagine that having the ace of hearts is probably good for you here. If he's like sort of because it cuts off his main sort of value portion of polarization, which is the nut flush, right?
Yeah.
That's 3 bets and then calls a 4-bet.
Yeah. Could you also say that it would block his main bluff, though, if he began a bluff with the ace of hearts?
Yeah, but is he bluffing though now at the end when an ace comes?
True. that was a dumb question.
No, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, wait, if he hit an ace though, right?
I mean, if he also had ace king and he's just trying to jam to Kimmy off the chop too, maybe. Because there aren't really any.
He'd have to start a bet with what ace king with like the king of hearts and then jam at the end. I don't know, man.
I mean, because there aren't. I mean, because
like I said, I mean, again, it's one of these things where I would absolutely overfold against population here. If you think he's got enough bluffs because you check back the flop and you guys are battling, then it's probably not a terrible call with the ace of hearts. Because it seems like there's an extra level of dynamic, if I remember from like 2 weeks ago here. I don't know what the solver would say. Like I said, the solver would probably never play a hand this way, so it's really hard to... I can't imagine ace king with the ace of hearts ever being checked back in a 4-bet pot, so it's hard to really get an accurate output here at this stack depth. What did you end up doing?
So I tanked for about 5 to 6 minutes or so, and then I ended up letting it go.
Really? I would have expected you to call there.
I wouldn't think he would be. It just looks like I have ace king so much, and why would he?
Well, that's why I would overfold to the population. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So and I know that he knows that too. So it's like you would expect me to call. So I guess that's why I ended up letting it go.
No, would you 4-bet jacks and tens here too, pre?
Jacks, maybe tens. I don't know. Probably not tens, just flat tens, and then.
I was just gonna say, if you have
jacks
jacks and tens here, like he might think that those might be some of the primary. That's why it's like if you always bet, you don't have to worry about this in such a tight configuration. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you just bet tens and jacks for like a little mergy protection / value, and then you still have your whole range here. Because it's kind of hard to balance, like, if you're checking back here. I mean, I guess you can have some queen, queen. I mean, I assume if you have queen, queen, you're gonna have to call off, right? If you play queen, queen this way.
I think it's a square call with queen queen, just because he could have ace king too. So you would beat that if he's jamming that to try and get me off a chop.
Did you ever find out what he had?
Yeah. So I actually have two reveals here. The first reveal was that I am not the hero in this hand. I was actually the villain in this hand, and my friend was the hero.
Okay. So what did you have?
I had king jack of clubs, so I bluffed him again.
And what did he have? Ace king with the ace
Yeah,
of hearts.
he was one who had ace king.
No, flip it around. That's why I might call against your friend and vice versa. That's a pretty ambitious bet by you with king jack of clubs. By the way, if we're talking about one hand that checks back flop, you're blocking jack jack here too.
Yeah, I was, as you like to say, out to lunch this hand.
All right, Matt. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bart.
All right.